Dillon Gabriel was supposed to bring dual-threat dynamism to the Browns' offense. Instead, he's delivered indecision, missed reads, and one of the league's most underwhelming stat lines. Kevin Stefanski, who had largely protected his quarterback publicly, finally aired his frustration after Gabriel's collapse against the Steelers. The coach didn't just blame the player. He pointed to a broken scheme and an offense running in circles. That kind of public pivot isn't just frustration. It's groundwork for a dramatic shift, and with the season slipping away, time is running out.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
That shift may already have a name, Shedeur Sanders. Dubbed by analysts as one of the most gifted passers in the league today, Sanders brings both the talent and confidence the Browns desperately need. Mary Kay Cabot's comparison to top-tier NFL quarterbacks wasn't hyperbole. It was a rallying cry. As the Browns drift further from playoff relevance, Stefanski's next move could make or break the year. Starting Sanders now wouldn't just be a gamble. It would be a declaration that Cleveland is ready to fight back. Kevin Stefanski finally said what everyone else had been thinking. And once those words left his mouth, there was no putting the genie back in the bottle. The Browns head coach stood in front of the media and laid it out plainly. Dillon Gabriel's performance has not only been subpar, it's been damaging to the team's progress. For a quarterback brought in to elevate the offense, Gabriel has done the opposite. And now, the entire organization is feeling the pressure. When a coach goes public with criticism this sharp, it's more than just venting. It's a warning shot. Stefanski didn't just call out a couple of bad reads or missed throws. He questioned Gabriel's overall ability to run the offense. Passing? Inconsistent. Rushing? Ineffective. Execution? Missing entirely. And those aren't just flaws, they're liabilities. Through several weeks of play, Gabriel has failed to deliver in every key area. His passing completion rate barely clears 50%. His mobility, which was supposed to be a strength, hasn't translated into yardage or opportunities. And worst of all, the offense as a whole has stalled with him under center. The numbers make it undeniable. The Browns are averaging just 14 points per game. That's not just below league average. It's near the bottom. When other teams are pushing 30 points a game, Cleveland is struggling to reach double digits. And it's not a one-off trend. It's been a repeated pattern. Week after week, Gabriel's output has been the same. Underwhelming, uninspired, ineffective. It all came to a head in the game against the Steelers. A game where the defense did their job, but the offense, again, couldn't get it done. Gabriel threw for less than 200 yards. No touchdowns. One turnover or sack. Take your pick. And the final score? 9 points. That was the result of a full week of preparation, and it was painful to watch. That's what triggers Stefanski's reaction. And now the entire team is standing at a breaking point. But Gabriel isn't the only quarterback on this roster. And the other name? It's a big one. Shedeur Sanders. The hype around Sanders has only grown louder and more legitimate. This isn't a fan fantasy or a media daydream. It's backed by real reps, real results, and real belief from people who know the game. When Sanders got the chance to step onto the field against the Panthers, he made it count. Limited reps didn't stop him from showing poise, control, and the kind of presence that's been missing from this offense since week 1. In a game that could have easily exposed him, Sanders looked the part. The timing was there. The accuracy was there. The composure under pressure was there. He didn't just survive out there. He elevated the unit around him. And that's why the conversation has shifted from speculation to expectation. Analysts, insiders, and fans all see it the same way now. Sanders should be the starter. He's not just a promising backup. He's a potential solution. And with the offense in its current state, potential is more than enough to justify a switch. Even respected media figures like Mary Kay Cabot have gone all in, calling Sanders the best passer in the league right now. That's not said lightly. That's not a headline grab. That's a recognition of raw ability, of upside, and of what the Browns could look like if they actually let him take the wheel. So now, the Browns are stuck. Stefanski's critique of Gabriel wasn't just a moment of honesty. It put the entire coaching staff on the clock. They've acknowledged that the offense isn't working. They've admitted that Gabriel's limitations are part of the reason. And now, with Sanders sitting right there, ready, the only thing left is a decision, because this situation isn't improving. Gabriel isn't trending upward. There's no late-season breakthrough coming. And no one's buying the development excuse anymore. This is the NFL. Development happens behind the scenes. On Sundays, you either perform or you don't. The longer the Browns hesitate, the more it feels like they're letting the season slip away. And this isn't a rebuild. This is a team with pieces, with urgency, with pressure to deliver. But that won't happen if they continue to put a quarterback on the field who can't lead them to more than 14 points a game. Sanders, for all the unknowns, at least offers a path forward. He's shown enough to warrant a serious look. And the support behind him, from analysts to fans to players, has made it clear that a quarterback change wouldn't just be welcomed. It's expected. The offense is broken. The rhythm is gone. The play calling isn't working. Stefanski's own words made that crystal clear. There's no cohesion, no tempo, no threat. Defenses aren't respecting Gabriel's arm, and they're certainly not worried about his legs. Every drive feels like an uphill climb, and more often than not, it ends in a punt. What Sanders brings is a chance to flip the script. And right now, that's everything. Yes, he's improving in a full-time role. Yes, there are risks, but those are theoretical. The problems with Gabriel? Those are guaranteed. The Browns already know what happens when he starts. It's on film. It's on the scoreboard. It's in the standings. So why not try something different? Because at some point, sticking with what isn't working becomes worse than any possible risk. And that's where the Browns are now. Every week without a change just makes the hole deeper. The fan base is already fed up. The media is already circling. And you better believe the locker room sees it too. These players aren't dumb. They know who's executing in practice. They see what Sanders can do. They've watched the reps. And when the offense keeps sputtering and nothing changes, it starts to eat away at morale. You want to keep the locker room? You make the move. You want to show the team you're serious about turning things around? You hand the offense to the guy who might actually do it. Because right now, Shedeur Sanders isn't just an option. He's the only logical next step. Stefanski and the front office are running out of time. And the clock isn't just ticking for the season. It's ticking for their credibility. Every week they choose not to act. The pressure builds. Every loss under Gabriel's leadership becomes another brick in the wall between the fans and the franchise. This isn't just about benching a quarterback. It's about course correction, about making a hard call before the season is completely lost. And if they wait too long, if they hesitate out of fear or loyalty or politics, they'll have no one to blame but themselves. Shedeur Sanders might not fix everything, but right now, he represents something this team desperately needs. Hope. Hope that the offense can move. That drives can end in touchdowns instead of field goals. That this season still means something. That's what's on the line now. So what do you think? Is it time for the Browns to make the switch? Should Stefanski pull the trigger and let Sanders take over before it's too late? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like this if you've had enough of the excuses and want to see change. And subscribe if you're following every twist and turn of this quarterback saga, because this decision, it's going to define the Browns season. And maybe a whole lot more. If you're a Browns fan or honestly just a football fan with a functioning brain, you know this isn't just about stats anymore. This is about leadership, accountability, and the future of a franchise that's been stuck in this never-ending cycle of almost and maybes for years. Kevin Stefanski fired a shot across the bow. When a head coach publicly throws his quarterback under the bus after weeks of playing damage control, it means one thing. He's done protecting him. He's out of patience, out of excuses. And judging by the tone of Stefanski's comments, he's also dangerously close to being out of time. You don't go to the podium after a 9-point loss and highlight your QB's failures, unless you're setting the table for a change. This wasn't a subtle signal. It was a billboard. Stefanski knows what's coming. The front office knows what's coming. And the fans, they've been screaming for it. Let's not dance around this. Dillon Gabriel is holding this team back. We're not talking about a guy who's had a few rough outings. We're talking about a quarterback who was sold a fan base as a dual-threat weapon and has delivered neither. His completion rate? Borderline unacceptable. His mobility? Useless, at least in this system. His playmaking ability? Non-existent. The Browns are averaging 14 points a game. That's not a slump. That's not a dry spell. That's a flat line. This team isn't just losing games, they're wasting Sundays. And no matter how many post-game quotes you throw at it, no amount of "we gotta execute better" is going to change the fact that Gabriel hasn't improved. In fact, he's regressed. The more time he's been given, the worse the offense has looked. And now we're at a point where everyone, literally everyone, can see what needs to happen next. You got Shedeur Sanders sitting right there, behind a quarterback who can't move the ball, can't make throws under pressure, and can't lead a huddle with any real confidence. Sanders, who already showed flashes of what he can do in limited reps against the Panthers. Sanders, who looked smoother, faster, and sharper in one appearance than Gabriel has in his entire stretch of starts. When a guy steps into a game with barely any warning and looks more composed than your starter, that's not a fluke. That's readiness. And let's not pretend the Browns are the only ones who noticed. The media jumped on it immediately. Analysts started circling. Fans didn't hesitate to flood message boards, post-game shows, and social media with one loud message: start Sanders. Then Mary Kay Cabot took it to another level, calling Sanders the best passer in the league right now. Not the best rookie. Not the best bench warmer. The best passer. That's not a hot take. That's a challenge. That's someone daring the coaching staff to stop stalling and just make the move. And based on Stefanski's post-game comments, it sounds like that move is coming soon. But the longer they wait, the worse it's going to get. Every week that Gabriel starts is another week of wasted reps, stalled drives, and growing frustration. It's another week of watching a defense work overtime just to keep games within reach, while the offense produces nothing. It's another week of hearing the same tired sound bites after every loss. At this point, continuing to start Gabriel doesn't just feel like a bad decision. It feels like malpractice. And for what? To protect the ego of a coaching staff that doesn't want to admit it made the wrong call? To avoid the risk of starting an improving quarterback? What risk? Let's be honest. There's more risk in doing nothing. Because if the Browns stick with Gabriel and the offense continues to sputter, Stefanski's not just losing games. He's losing the locker room. Players know who can play and who can't. They see it in practice. They see it on the sidelines. They know when a quarterback has it, and when a quarterback is just barely hanging on. And if Stefanski keeps trotting Gabriel out there week after week, while Shedeur Sanders is standing right behind him, ready to go, eventually, the guys in that locker room stop believing in their coach, too. That's what's at stake here. Not just the season, not just the standings, but trust. Trust from the players, trust from the fans, trust from the front office. And once you lose that, you're done. That's why this moment matters so much. This is the kind of decision that defines a team, not just for 1 week or one game, but for the entire trajectory of the season, maybe even beyond. Stefanski doesn't need to overthink this. Sanders doesn't have to be perfect. He just has to be better than what they're getting right now. And let's be real, how hard is that bar to clear? A quarterback who can complete more than half of his passes. A quarterback who can keep a drive alive with his legs and his arm. A quarterback who can command a huddle without the entire stadium holding its breath. That's not asking for magic. That's asking for a functioning offense. And it's clear that Sanders can deliver that. Or at the very least, deserves the chance to try. The upcoming games will decide everything. Not just for Gabriel or for Sanders, but for Stefanski. Because if the Browns stick with what isn't working and the results don't change, the heat will turn all the way up. The patience? Gone. The excuses? Dead on arrival. This isn't college. This isn't a developmental league. This is the NFL. And in the NFL, if you're not producing, you're out. So why is Gabriel still in? That's the question that'll define this team's direction. And everyone's watching. Every fan. Every analyst. Every player in that locker room. The opportunity is right in front of them. And it's wearing number 2 on the depth chart. Make the move. Give Sanders a start. Let him take the field. Let him command the offense. Let him show the Browns what they've been missing. If it works, you save the season. You ignite the team. You give the fans something to believe in again. If it doesn't, at least you tried. At least you didn't go down protecting a decision everyone knew was wrong. It's time to stop hesitating. Stop second-guessing. Stop waiting for a miracle from a quarterback who's had chance after chance. The next snap should belong to Shedeur Sanders. Let's finish this story the way the Browns should have finished that Steelers game, with clarity, purpose, and finally, a decision. Because right now, we're not just watching a quarterback drama play out. We're watching a franchise at a crossroads. One more wrong step, and the Cleveland Browns will be exactly what they've been for far too long, stuck in a loop of wasted potential and avoidable failure. It's not just about Dillon Gabriel underperforming. That part's been established. It's not just that he struggled to complete passes, failed to use his legs when needed, and put up an offense-crushing 14 points a game. It's that the Browns keep letting it happen. They keep lining up behind a quarterback who can't finish drives, and then wondering why the game slips away. They're not just losing. They're choosing to lose. Because they have an answer on the roster. A real one. Shedeur Sanders. Not some mysterious prospect. Not a fan-fueled hope. A quarterback who stepped in cold, played against pro competition, and looked better than the starter. Not just more athletic. Not just more poised. Better. Efficient. Smooth. Confident. And yet, somehow, still benched. After Stefanski finally snapped and publicly aired out his frustration with Gabriel. Frustration that's clearly been simmering for weeks. You'd think the decision was automatic. A change had to be coming, right? Wrong. At least, not yet. Because the Browns are still dragging their feet. Still talking about development and consistency and evaluating everything. As if there's something left to evaluate. As if Gabriel hasn't already shown us, over and over, exactly who he is. Let's say it clearly. Gabriel is not the guy. Not now. Not in this system. And not on a team that still has enough talent to fight for relevance this season. And that's what's making this whole situation even more frustrating. It's not like the Browns are a total mess. The defense is doing its job. The playmakers on offense are there. The pieces exist. But without a quarterback who can move the chains and finish drives, all of it is wasted. The window isn't closed yet, but it will be if they keep going down this path. That's why this moment matters. Why this week, right now, has to be the breaking point. Because if Stefanski in the front office wait any longer, it won't just cost them games. It'll cost them credibility. It'll cost them the locker room. And for Stefanski, maybe even his job. This is what happens when leadership doesn't lead. The coach has already said the scheme isn't working, that the offense has no rhythm, that the quarterback isn't executing. Those are all signals. What hasn't happened yet is the action, the follow-through, the bold move, the one decision that could pull this team out of its freefall. Start Shedeur Sanders. Is there risk? Of course. Sanders is still relatively untested. He hasn't had a full game to operate as a starter, with the pressure and the expectations that come with it. But that's not a reason to wait. It's a reason to find out. Because here's the truth. You already know what you're getting with Gabriel. Another week of slow starts, inaccurate throws, busted red zone trips, and a stat line that feels like it was copy-pasted from the last game. Another 9-point outing. Another locker room speech about trying harder. Another headline about what went wrong. Why would you want to keep reliving that? The upside with Sanders is obvious. He brings energy. He brings confidence. And according to people like Mary Kay Cabot, he brings elite-level accuracy. She didn't hedge her words. She called him the best passer in the league right now. Whether that's hyperbole or not, the point stands. This is a quarterback with real tools, and the Browns are choosing not to use him. Why? Because they're scared of what happens if it doesn't work? Well, guess what? The current situation isn't working. So what's the actual downside of giving your most talented quarterback to start? There isn't one. Let Sanders get out there. Let him build chemistry with the offense. Let him inject some life into a team that desperately needs it. If he struggles, so be it. At least you'll know. At least you gave your season a fighting chance. Because right now, all the Browns are doing is watching it fade away, quietly and predictably. It's not about punishing Gabriel. It's about saving the team. And to do that, Stefanski has to stop talking about change and start making it. The fans are done waiting. The analysts are all saying the same thing. And the locker room? If they haven't already lost faith in the current quarterback situation, they're dangerously close. That's what happens when a coach refuses to adjust. Players stop believing. The team checks out. The spiral begins. But it's still preventable. Start Shedeur Sanders. Give him the reps, let him grow. Let him take over the offense and see what he can do. He's shown enough already to earn that opportunity. And no, he doesn't need to be perfect. He just needs to be better than 14 points a game. And all signs point to the fact that he can be. This isn't just about fixing an offense. It's about changing the energy of an entire team. You bring in Sanders, and suddenly the narrative shifts. The locker room has a spark. The fans have something to rally around. The media stops asking what's wrong with Cleveland and starts asking, what if this works? That's what's at stake. Not just another game. Not just another stat line. This is a season. This is a chance to turn the ship before it hits the rocks. But you can't do that if you're still pretending Gabriel's going to turn into something he's not. He's had time. He's had reps. He's had chances. And the results speak for themselves. The Browns don't need patience anymore. They need a pulse. And Shedeur Sanders might be the only one who can give it to them. So now, the pressure is squarely on Kevin Stefanski and the front office. They've let this drag out long enough. Every week they wait makes the eventual decision feel less like a turning point and more like a desperation move. It doesn't have to be that way. Make the change now. Show the fans you're serious about winning. Show the team that performance matters. Show the league that you're not going to let another season slip away without a fight. Because the longer they wait, the more this becomes a defining story of the year. And not in a good way. So what do you think? Is it finally time for the Browns to hand the keys to Shedeur Sanders and let him lead this team out of the mud? Or are they going to let indecision bury a season that still has a heartbeat? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like if you're ready for a quarterback change, that's actually going to make a difference. And hit subscribe if you're here for every twist, every headline, and every decision that could change everything. Because this quarterback saga, it's not just a storyline. It's a reckoning.